my dears, it's David McGillivray here, a comedy legend and a horror icon, and this is Little Did You Know, the chat show. It's a show in which I talk to people I find interesting. I hope you agree. I also hope that you are enjoying our new titles and theme music. We had our first face-to-face interview last week, you may remember, which was a major event. This week, however, we are back on Zoom, but that's because I'm in London and my guest is on the south coast of England. Now, I have always been intrigued by muses. I've always thought that the men and women who model for artists must have fascinating stories, and yet so many of them are anonymous. But that's not the case with Lucian Freud. There's no mystery about him. We're well aware of who most of his models were, and two of them are extremely famous indeed. One was the performance artist Leigh Bowery. Another was a friend of his, and she is my guest today. She was Benefits Supervisor Sleeping. It's been described as one of the most remarkable paintings of the human figure ever produced, and not only that, it was sold in 2008 for £17.2 million, which was at that time a record for a living artist. Oh, I can't wait to talk about art and much more besides with my guest. Will you please say hello to the very wonderful Sue Tilley? Hello, Sue.
Hello. Hi, David. Lovely to be here.
I'm glad to hear it. It's lovely to have you. Now, I'm going to try and ask you at least a couple of questions that you haven't answered 100 times before.
I look forward to that then.
Does that suit you?
It certainly does.
Oh, good. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, Sue wrote a book in 1997 called Leigh Bowery, The Life and Times of...
Got a copy?
Of course I did. I devoured it, Sue, when it came out. It's falling apart now. Look, all the...
It was very poorly produced. Mine's all falling apart as well.
Oh, is it rough binding? Because all my photos are falling out.
Everybody who's got the first copy, pictures are falling out. That's Hodder and Stout, and you think they'd be a bit better than that?
Isn't that interesting? I thought it was because I've thumbed it.
No, everyone is like that.
Well, I loved this book, Sue, because to me, you were living the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to live. I was so envious. In the 90s. What?
I went, oh.
Oh, it's true. It's true. In the 1980s, you seemed to be hanging out with pop stars and artists. But the only difference is that most of them were on the dole, but you had a job. Famously, you were the benefits supervisor at a job centre. Now, in the book, you don't talk much about yourself. It's mostly about Leigh. So tell me.
Change.
It makes a change, but we want to know, how did you get that job at the job centre and what did it entail?
Well, I went to teacher training college to train to be an art teacher in Watford. And then, of course, when I finished college, I didn't have a job, so I went to sign on in Watford, as long as my other people did as well. And they said, oh, there's a head office of the Department of Employment. You can go and work there. So I went and worked there, as long as a lot of people from work did as well. And then they went, oh, you could apply for promotion if you wanted. I went, can I? They went, yeah, go on. And then I applied for promotion, and then I had to choose what part of London I wanted to work in. And I don't think I'd ever been to Camden Town, but I'd read a lot about it in the NME because they always had gigs on there and that. I thought, I'll say I want to work in Camden Town. So I went there and I couldn't believe my eyes. What the first thing I saw someone walking along the road, and they did that and blew their nose like that. I thought, where have I come? And I didn't realise that was called a farmer's handkerchief. And that's what an innocent young girl I was at that time. But things soon changed.
Well, you ended up in the job centre at Denmark Street.
I know, that was marvellous, that was, because it wasn't a proper job centre. Like people on the dole, you didn't have to sign people or anything. It was just for like people looking for jobs. So all the people who came in wanted to come in. And to be honest, it was mostly foreign students and that who were desperate to work in the hospitality industry.
So,
But it was really good as well because we'd look at pop stars out the window.
well, I was looking at you through the window because this is this century now. We're coming more up to date. But opposite
Yeah.
that job centre were the offices of QX. It was a weekly gay magazine. I wrote for them for years. So you were probably aware that a lot of your friends, your clubbing friends, were going in and out of that building. I'm talking about
Stuart Who worked there, didn't he?
Stuart Who, Princess Julia.
Donald Urquhart, I remember seeing in there because we used to wave out the window sometimes.
Well, I went to work there. I think it was about 2000, and the editor said Sue Tilley works at that job centre over the road.
Oh, that was an attraction.
What? Because that's not in your book. So
Then though, when I wrote it, I didn't work at that job centre.
well, I went over the road and I looked through the window like this, and
Did you see?
I saw you. Yes, I did. I didn't come in at that point. The time wasn't right. We had to wait till today to meet virtually. Now, we now backtrack again because it's the 80s, and you are clubbing. Were you a Blitz kid, or was that too early?
Well, I went there a couple of times because I'd lived in Watford in the suburbs, and I knew it wasn't for me. I knew really I had to find my friends, and I knew they'd be in London at these type of people, and it all worked out that I managed to find them, and they found me, and so I went to the Blitz twice. I think I went there once on when it was the Royal Wedding Week, So that seems a bit early.
Was that 1979?
No.
Or was that the Jubilee 1979?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about when Charles and Diana got married.
Ah.
So I remember walking through all the people camped out in the Strand to get there. So I only went twice, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But now, funny enough, most of the Bliss kids live across the road to me in St Leonard's.
I was going to say it's remarkable. It's the new Brighton. Everybody is moving down there. So
because Michelle Clapton lives around the corner and Stephen Linnard.
Did you go to Kinky Galinky?
Yes, I did. Of course I did. I went there when it was the embassy, first of all.
Famous. Now, again, we can't be sure. We can't be absolutely sure about where you met Leigh. It might have been Cha-Cha's at Heaven. It might have been Bolts.
No, it was definitely Cha-Cha's at Heaven. I remember it well.
Oh, it's definitely. Oh, okay, great. But one thing's for sure, and that is, I mean, although briefly, and it's only one line I think you mentioned in your book, snogging blokes, but you're going to gay clubs. So what's going on there?
Oh, well, you meet the best blokes, straight blokes at gay clubs, because they're a bit more modern in the head. And I met, when I started working the job centre at Camden, I met a boy called Ian Critchley, and he was the first proper gay person I'd ever met, really. And so he introduced me to the world of homosexuals. Mm-hmm. And funny enough, I just belonged with them.
Oh, I don't know whether to ask you this, Sue. You may press leave meeting if I ask you this question. But anyway, I don't care. I'm going to ask you, were you a fag hag?
I hate that word, so I'm not saying it. Do you know what I'd say? I say that the gays were hag fags and they hang around me.
Nicely turned around, Sue.
Exactly.
So at some
expression though.
It's only used because
very old-fashioned. People don't use it now, I don't think, do they?
You don't hear it so much. It was only used, I think, because it rhymed, that's all. No offence meant.
No,
Now,
I didn't take it.
cha-chas. So, is it fair to say that your eyes and Lee's met across a crowded room?
Yeah, like that. No, yeah, we looked like that. It was love at first sight. Sorry, can I just interject? I've got a builder who's just coming to use the toilet in case you hear any noises. I'm sure everyone wants to know that story. Anyway, no, I just met him through friends and I just thought, oh, what a lovely cheery face he's got. We're very well suited. And we had the same upbringing, you wouldn't think so. Both born from nice parents who had nice religious backgrounds, but both of us wanted to escape and be wild.
How was he dressed the first time you met him?
Very like everyone else at Cha-Cha's, shaved sides, long on top, hair. I think he had an orange sweatshirt, maybe some little stars on it, braces, then like baggy crop trousers to just above the ankle. Very popular Cha-Cha's look.
So let's just establish that later, I'll just backtrack again because he was born in Australia in 1961, came to London in 1980, and then he became a piece of art. And he invented looks that had never been seen before anywhere in the world. He was able to completely change his body.
Yeah.
And he premiered these looks at his own club, Taboo.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's not quite clear when you were there. You certainly weren't there on the first night.
I certainly wasn't. No, I was being operated on in the hospital. Never forget it. No, so I went about 3 weeks later, probably, because I was in hospital for quite a while. And yes, I went about 3 weeks later.
Did you hear about how it was doing?
Yes, because he arrived the next day to visit me in the hospital and was so hungover he got in bed with me in the hospital and then just told me loads of lies about it was completely packed, it was the best night ever, everything. But then when people actually came, other people who'd been there went, wasn't packed at all, it was quite quiet.
Of course. When you first went there, what was your opinion, Sue?
Oh, see, I loved anywhere going out, I'd be happy. And all my friends were there. That's all I want, really. When I go out, I want all my friends for chit chat, drinks, and a couple of minor celebrities for my entertainment.
How long was it before the celebrities started turning up?
Only about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because they were our friends. You know, you didn't really know at the time, but they were your friends as well.
Can you put your finger on why Taboo was unlike any other club night in London?
I think because the guys who owned the actual club were really easygoing. I don't know why, but they were amazing, and they just let us do whatever we liked, charge what we liked on the door. People could behave so appallingly, and they didn't even care. And it ended up at the night, most people just rolling on the floor.
There was a lot of falling over, wasn't
Yeah. I really feel, unless I've fallen over, I haven't had a good night out. Even to this day. I haven't fallen over for a long time, I admit, but I don't think I did last year.
But in the Taboo days, you really needed bruises the next day to prove
Oh, yeah.
a good time.
Yeah.
It was.
Bruises or a love bite?
Say that again.
Bruises or a love bite?
One or the other, yes. It was very, or both, yes. It was very messy indeed, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Now I'm going to ask you to either confirm or deny various rumours about Taboo, Sue.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, Geoffrey Hinton, the DJ, played the slip mat for at least half an hour.
True.
Were you there?
Yeah, and everyone was just dancing and rolling on the floor.
That's the first time it's ever been confirmed, Sue, because I did ask Geoffrey and he said, oh, I might have done.
He definitely did.
Okay, that's great. Is it true that after a while, a few weeks, Leigh would wait until the club was packed and then make an entrance?
Yes, he would. And it all, once he arrived, it all went up a step. You know, the atmosphere changed because he was there like a human hurricane going round, making sure everyone was having a good time.
How did he do it? How was he the host with the most?
Drunk, vodka. I think it's called today preloading. So he'd preload before he came out. So he'd arrive drunk, be ready to burst in. And there was quite low ceiling. So he'd run around like a dervish, spreading his arms, kicking his legs. And to be honest, you could almost reach the ceiling because it was quite low. So he'd be just like a maniac running around the club, picking on people.
Picking on them to do what?
Well, picking on them, if they look nice, he'd tell them. But if he thought they did look good, he'd tell them as well. But either way, they didn't mind because at least they'd been noticed.
You've said, I mean, there were a lot of drugs at Taboo, you know, let's face it, but you've said that your drug of choice was alcohol at that time.
I didn't even realise that people were taking drugs. So I think I'm a bit stupid or a bit innocent. Oh, yeah, they're all on heroin. I'm going, what? Oh, what? I didn't really know, but apparently they were. It's not grubby, in my opinion.
Were you on snake bites?
Oh, yeah, love the snake bite. The thought of it now, I think I'd die to drink a snake bite. But sometimes even a special one with blackcurrant in it. So it was cider and lager with some blackcurrant. Oh, if you were really special, a shot of Pernod.
I'm glad you told me that, Sue, because it's something else you never hear about nowadays.
I don't think people drink snake bite. It's out of fashion. They have a cheeky Vimto now, I think, and things like that.
Another rumour here, Sue, please confirm or deny. Perhaps you were even there when, at a performance, Leigh gave himself an enema.
Well, no, I wasn't there, but I've heard about this story a million times. So he was doing a performance at the Daisy Chain. Then our friend Bailey Walsh, he's a lovely, nice-looking fella. He made him carry him in on his shoulders. And beforehand, why he thinks of these things, he'd filled his bum with water. So he thought he'd just spray out clean water to the audience. That was in his mind. But he didn't realise with medical matters that the water mixed with what was already up there. And so as he went, to be honest, how he did it is beyond me. But anyway, how he held it all in, then when he let it go, unfortunately, it wasn't clear water. It was mixed with excrement. And it went all over the front rows of the place.
Oh, why am I laughing? But it seems...
No, you can't help it. But then there was a letter in the pink paper signed 2 angry lesbians complaining about the filthy, terrible Leigh Bowery. But guess what? He'd written it himself. Autumn.
Oh, I love it. Is it true, Sue? Lucian Freud went to Taboo because he'd heard about Leigh Bowery.
No.
No.
No, not that I know of. To be honest, I didn't know he was there, but as far as I know, no.
Were you on the door?
Yeah, every other week, I think.
So
sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't.
So you were you like Steve Strange and you wouldn't let people in?
Oh no, I was just the cashier. Mark Vautier, who also died, he was the could say if they came in or not. Then once they're in, I'd take their money and I could just charge whatever I like, really. If I liked them, I'd charge a little, and if I didn't like them, I'd charge a lot. Hang on a minute, sorry. Hello? Oh, can you just leave it, please? Thanks. Sorry, I just got Amazon delivery.
You're so busy, Sue. The builder, the Amazon delivery man.
I know, it's all going on.
It's all going on in St Leonard's, just in case you've just joined us. We're on to the subject of Lucian Freud now, and you at that time when Leigh started modelling for him, you didn't know who he was.
I didn't. And then Leigh told me, and then sometimes you hear a name and then it crops up all the time, like you read in a paper and you read something about him and all this, and so suddenly I didn't know who he was.
We're going to talk now about you becoming Lucian Freud's model, Sue. There are more rumours here. We need to clear them up.
Okay.
So You modelled for him several times for
I,
paintings and hand etchings. And the most well-known picture is Benefit's Supervisor Sleeping. Um,
yeah.
there's another one even more expensive. This was sold later for 35 million pounds. That's Benefit
Not much then.
Supervisor Resting. You're asleep in both. It looks as though you've just dropped off during the sitting.
Yeah, I did all the time.
You did.
Yeah. And then I dream that I was there, and sometimes I dream that Lucian had told me to have a rest. So I'd suddenly sit up, and he goes, "What are you doing?" "Oh, you told me to have a rest." "No, I didn't." So I dreamt it, but it was all right. Then he went, "Oh, you have a rest then." So it worked.
How much of the time were you awake?
Oh, about 80% of the time.
Oh, I see.
But you know, like when you go to sleep when you're not really tired, like if you wake up in the morning, then force yourself to go back to sleep, you have funny dreams, and you can remember them. It was like that. So I never really slept for a long time, just a few minutes here and there.
When you were awake, were you talking to Lucian?
Oh yeah, a lot of the time, yeah. But sometimes, it would depend. If sometimes he'd be tired, sometimes I'd be tired, but sometimes we'd both be chatty. So that was very fascinating hearing his stories.
What? Give me one story Lucian Freud told you.
The time he met Judy Garland, and she had a very, very limp handshake.
You heard it here first, or
Yeah,
maybe you've told that
yeah,
story before.
mate.
Maybe. I also want to know, we're going to have to take a break in a minute, but just before we do, I want to know about that sofa as well, because that's almost as famous as you. Where did that come from?
Can't remember. See, the first picture I was on the floor that was really uncomfortable. Then I had a break for a year because I was very tanned and you couldn't bear it. So I had to wait for that to fade. And then I just came back and there it was in the room. Apparently it was really, really expensive, which is amazing, seeing the mess of it. But I think he got it in some antique shop or something, around West London somewhere. I'm not really sure. But I know it was several £1,000s. I'm going, what? You paid several £1,000s for this? It's falling to bits.
It doesn't look expensive, Sue, I have to say.
Old.
Hmm.
And he liked it because it was all raggedy.
One final question before we take the break. It's the obvious one. What was your first reaction when you saw one of the finished paintings? That's either Sleeping or Resting.
Well, I've told people before, that's a silly question because I saw the painting the whole time, continually. So it wasn't a sudden, here it is. He was like painting it for 9 months. And while he was painting, it was facing me because the picture was so big that if he'd been behind it, he'd have to keep running around the whole time. So what he'd do was prefer to turn himself like that. So the picture behind him and he'd be turning around, looking at me, then going back and painting it. So I saw it from the minute it started to the minute it finished.
Did you like the way it was progressing?
The first one I hated. I can't bear it. I don't even like to look at it now. But after that, so all the others seemed all right after that. Yeah, I really like that. The Benefit Supervisor Sleeping.
Good.
I'm very keen on it.
Good. Oh, we're going to come back to this, Sue, but right now, let's have a quick look at a trailer for a Peccadillo release. It's a brand new one. It came out this year. It's from Australia and it's called Sequin in a Blue Room. Looks fascinating to me. They all do, though. Have a look at this. Join us again in a couple of minutes.
How do you want to do this? Take off your clothes.
Oh, you're so beautiful.
I could get this place again.
I don't really see people twice. That's just how it works.
Obsession. There is a clear relationship between the notion of love and the notion of obsession. But what happens when an obsession is unattained?
going on? There's something different about you.
What are you doing after this?
Are you asking me on a date? Do you know everyone there?
No.
Then how?
I thought you would have liked the anonymity.
Are you looking for someone?
Where have you been?
Sorry. Don't you want to know his name? I know all their names.
Does my memory take you by the hand? Does it lead you to the fire?
Wow. This is Sequin.
Let's show them how you got that name.
That's Sequin in a Blue Room. It's a brand new Peccadillo release. Came out in April. And I'm here with my guest, Sue Tilley. Sue, another question I suppose you have been asked. I have to know the answer, though. A lot of very rich men, including Roman Abramovich, are looking at your naked body every day. Does that thought ever cross your mind?
No, because to be honest, I don't think they are. I think they've got them in storage, which upsets me completely, because I think that those pictures are to be there to be enjoyed, but I think they just see them as a financial commodity, which I find rather disgusting. But I know before it was sold, this picture to Roman Abramovich, it was in someone's television room in St John's Wood. So I went round to see it once. It was quite hilarious because I love lying on the settee watching telly. So I was thrilled that there I was in their telly room, lying around watching their telly. That's what I like. It's part of the house, not that it's put away somewhere.
Mm. We're going to return to the subject briefly of Taboo, but then we're going to talk about your own career, so both here and on Patreon. And if you're not a Patreon subscriber, here's the link. There it is, just underneath me. You may want to subscribe because we're going to be talking about some particularly interesting stuff with Sue on Patreon this week. And if you are a subscriber, you can join us there. As soon as this program finishes, we'll be waiting for you. Sue, 2002 was turns out to be quite an important year. First of all, because a film came out called The Legend of Leigh Bowery. I saw it at the London Lesbian and Gay Film Festival, and I wrote about it. So this is what I said, just in case it's of any interest. I loved Sue's Bowery biography, but as he was such a visual character, I felt I was missing so much. Now, this splendid documentary fills in the gaps, and I talk about a glittering array of celebs and loonies telling funny stories. So funny, in fact, that the audience was laughing so much that I missed a lot of the comments. But you can now see it on YouTube, everyone. If you've never seen this film, you must. And of course, Sue is in it. What is your take on that film? Is it an accurate portrait, Sue?
Oh, I love that film. Yeah, I love it. Because Charles Atlas was like a good friend of Leigh's, and we went to stay in his flat in New York and everything. So like he was a good friend, so he got Leigh, and so that's why he did a really lovely job. He did, yeah. This is the director of the film. Yeah. But it's how amazing. His name's Charles Atlas. That's his real name.
It's not.
It is.
I thought he'd given himself that name.
No, that's his real name.
For those who are slightly younger than me, I must point out that the other Charles Atlas, was a bodybuilder.
Strongest man in the world, wasn't he, or something?
He was very famous indeed. He sold courses. You too can have a body like mine. Interestingly, though, so one person who isn't in that film is Philip Salon, and he was very involved with Leigh and Taboo. Do you know why he isn't in it?
He wasn't involved with Leigh and Taboo.
He wasn't.
No. No, Leigh couldn't bear him, to be quite frank.
Well, that answers that one. Why couldn't?
He couldn't bear him, but Leigh just used to laugh at him and think, sad old fella. I mean, I'm very fond of Philip Salon myself. I find him hilarious, but he wasn't really. And there was a lot of bitterness between people, not bitterness, but a bit of aggro between the people who ran clubs and that.
Because Philip Salon had his own club, the Mud Club.
Exactly. But, me and Leigh used to go there a lot of the time.
Thank you for correcting me there, Sue. And here's one other thing I mentioned about that film, The Legend of Leigh Bowery. This is my last comment. Surprisingly, nobody remarks that Leigh resembled an avant-garde Benny Hill.
I know. Well, have you ever seen my picture I've got? Well, to be honest, I've been with him abroad, and people in the street, abroad in Europe, they love Benny Hill more than England. They love him. People shout in the street, Benny Hill! And there's a book I've got, what's her name? Beryl Reid. And there's a picture in it of of Benny Hill dressed up as sort of a funny woman. Honestly, you would just think it was Leigh. It would never cross your mind that it wasn't Leigh. Because everything, it's like got the curly wig on, everything.
How extraordinary.
I know.
Thought it was just me.
Oh, it's a well-known fact, Leigh and Benny Hill.
Oh, good. Right. Now, here's something else that happened in 2002.
Oh, I was thrilled with that. Thrilled.
Okay, so yes, they made a musical of Leigh Bowery and Taboo, and Sue is in it, of course, and she's played by Gail McKinnon.
When I heard I was going to be in it, I couldn't believe it. I thought, I was so excited. I was thrilled, I was. And I had quite a biggish part, really.
Did you make that first night?
Yes.
You did?
And many more nights. My family were obsessed. I don't know how many times they all went to see it. They loved it. Joe, do you see it?
I saw it a few times because
the tunes are so good.
The tunes are great. Ich bin Kunst.
I know, they're so clever. See, I always think Boy George is very much underestimated. He's a marvellous songwriter, and also I always think he really changed the world and the way people think about gayness, dressing up. And all the old ladies loved him and that. But I really think that he doesn't, or maybe he does, but I really feel that he should be more proud of himself about what he achieved.
I hope he is, Sue, because you're dead right. He's in the documentary as well, being typically marvellous about Leigh. Yes,
yeah, he was a bit nervous of Leigh, I think, but then Leigh was nervous of him.
You just, I mean, I never met Leigh, and of course I don't know what to make of him, because so many people say that he was so badly behaved.
No, but he was the loveliest person on earth. And when he behaved badly, he knew he was doing it. It was on purpose, if you know what I mean.
Was it an artistic thing?
Yeah, it was an art performance.
You've called him the bestest friend that anyone could have.
He'd just be there for you the whole time, always there entertaining you and taking you out, giving you attention. It changed my life.
Of course, yes.
Everything fantastic's happened to me, I can trace back to him.
How lovely. I'm going to talk about Leigh some more for Patreon subscribers, Sue, but one last thing I want to talk about here. It's because of a bit of shameless self-publicity, but I just happened. It's not me, no. This is attitude. I just happened to have written an article for the current issue on the history of British sex clubs.
Oh, yeah.
I've mentioned the Pink Panther and the fact that Leigh Bowery used to go there. And John Maybury, another friend of yours I know, is quoted. Did you ever go to the Pink Panther, Sue?
Many a time.
Can you please tell us about that club?
Well, it was above a cinema in is it Waldorf Street? Yeah. But it's all above an office block, and you crept in and you climb up to the top, and there was this club. Don't think you even paid to get in. If you did, it was 50p. You could buy a can of can of pills for 50p. And the floor was so falling to bits, people would fall through the floor, you know, to put their foot through. There was one grotty toilet. There'd be maybe Wayne County or Jane County performing, and the stage was a milk crate. And then there was this quite chubby bloke in a silver suit who thought he was Gary Glitter DJing. And everyone was there, and everyone was getting off with each other and snogging, doing it in the toilets. But the worst night I went there, I think it was at Christmas. And then there was a poster of Kajagoogoo on the wall that Leigh pulled off and decided to shit on in the middle of the club. And then we were all kicked. We were always being kicked out. It was always being raided. So you're never sure how long you'd be there because the police come and you'd all have to leave. Then we're all sitting in the gutter in Waldorf Street, and I was sitting next to Fat Tony, and we found these pills on the floor. So we just stuffed them in our faces. But to be honest, I think they were brand tablets. So we were sitting outside the club, and then Les Child and Michael Clark, two fabulous dancers, decided to dance on the top of the cars going down the street. Oh, you know, it's like something of a film. You know, in a film, you'd see fabulous dancers dancing on top of cars. But this was in real life. It was thrilling.
And can you just establish as well, Sue, what was Leigh shitting on a Kajagoogoo poster another work of art?
Yes, it was art performance.
Do you think Limahl knows this story?
Well, I don't know, because that story is quite well known, so maybe he does. Who knows?
Oh, well.
But he's proud.
I like to think that he'd like that story. I'm certainly going to tell it to him if I meet him again.
You do that.
I've still got a Kajagoogoo record in there.
Too shy, hush, hush, eyes on.
That's the one. It's said that Leigh Bowery was also too shy.
Sometimes he was, yeah. That's why he had to drink so much.
Mm.
And also because his costumes were so uncomfortable. She used to go to me sometimes, oh, I hate drinking, but I can't go out without it.
Oh, thank goodness he was able to do as much as he did.
In that short life.
In too short. He died in 1994. Now, subsequently, Sue, it's another rumour. Can we clear this up? Did you fall out with Lucian Freud?
He fell out with me.
Okay.
Over something so petty that I don't even care. It's because this was all after I finished working for him. But I think, to be honest, he falls out with people on purpose because he's so busy, he hasn't really got time for a lot of people. So he makes up some ridiculous reason to fall out with them. Because I didn't even know he'd fallen out with me. Someone told me. And it was all because I did a voiceover for, there was an exhibition at the Tate Gallery, and it was my picture in there. And I said, oh, the first one. And I went, oh, originally Leigh was in the picture, but he went away. So Lucian replaced him with a dog. And to be honest, he was pleased he didn't have to pay him. It was a joke. Do you know what I mean? I didn't mean it anyway. And he decided to take it upon himself that meant I thought he was very mean. So he wasn't talking to me. But since I didn't really speak to him, you know, in general, after I finished working for him, I hardly spoke to him. I didn't really notice that he wasn't speaking to me until someone pointed it out to me.
What a shame. Oh, I'm sorry.
I spoke to him once before he died. So I saw him at a party and we chatted. So that was very nice. But I do think maybe that when the painting had sold, he could have rung me and thanked me.
No, nothing.
Not a word. And I did think, Lucian, I've really helped you and you haven't even said thank you. But I didn't dwell on it because I was having a lot of fun. So
that's the main thing. Now, I know you've seen the mashup of Benefits Supervisor Sleeping and Her Majesty the Queen.
Me and many people, I've seen me and Gordon Brown, me and John McCririck, me and Donald Trump, me and Angela Merkel. There's loads of them about.
But the Queen version is particularly good because Freud
Exactly.
painted them both.
I know. So it does look like it's really real. So that is good. I'm thrilled to be in this, that me and the Queen, you've got something in common.
Oh, now tell us what this is, Sue, please. Penile Papers.
Oh, actually, I've got a copy here. Oh, I can't show it. It's too rude. I'll show you the cover.
You've got to be careful as it's YouTube, but
Right, it's a little book.
Yeah.
That I did the picture about 3 or 4 years ago and I'd completely forgotten about it. Then a couple of weeks ago, the boy wrote to me and went, oh, the book's coming out on Monday. But I'd even forgotten I'd drawn the picture. But it's a friend of mine. It's all people's different drawings of penises. And there's Beth Ditto's done one, Giles Deacon, Les Child, me, Princess Julia. To be honest, I think mine's a little bit more graphic than all the others. I didn't realise it was just a quick sketch. I did a full colour drawing.
well, when we do the extra, the bonus material for Patreon subscribers, Sue, you can show us your penis.
Okay, I will.
And let's just establish this. It's all for charity, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's only 200 copies, so get in quick. I don't know if they've gone yet.
We're going to put a link on the YouTube page when this goes out, Sue.
Okay.
Tell me about your neighbour, Erica Wordsmith.
Erica Smith.
Oh, Erica Smith, sorry.
She gave me this. A little Lee puppet on a clothes peg. Everyone lives around here is very artistic and they're always doing things, doing projects. You can't move for art projects here. And she does a project every year about a town on a book. And I think this year it was Edward Lear, The Owl and the Pussycat. But just as a little trick, she made me that. Lovely.
It's so clever.
I know. Do you know her then?
No, I read this on your Twitter feed.
Oh, right, yeah. Me and my Twitter. I'm hardly ever on Twitter. I don't really like it.
Oh, well, I've been doing my research.
Okay.
Didn't realise, though, Sue, that Hastings and St Leonard's is becoming an artistic community. Is that what drew you to the South Coast?
I just came here on a whim. But last week, the week before, I was judging a mural competition because by this cafe, Goat's Ledge, my favourite place, there's all these little kind of booths sort of built into the wall, and they had a mural competition for everyone to paint a different picture. Each little bench has got a different picture. So I've never been in such a creative atmosphere.
But it didn't come out of nowhere, this art, because you are now an artist yourself. You were drawn to art very early on, weren't you?
Yeah, love drawing. And I got an A in art A level. The others I failed. And I was to make my mum, me and my sister, Mum, have a drawing competition. But because I was 4 years older than my sister, I generally won. And then I liked art at school and I trained to be an art teacher. Then I got my job in the job centre. I was still a bit arty-farty. I didn't really do much drawing. But then it all changed.
You've come back to it.
Yes. Perfect time.
Do you have any regrets about leaving London for the South Coast?
None whatsoever.
What, you don't miss clubbing in London?
No, to be honest, look, I'm 64. I'm a little bit old for that now. My favourite is going around people's houses, going out for lunch and meeting people just for a drink quick. Because I like it here because everyone goes out early. It's in London, you have to go out about 11 o'clock at night. You get a certain age, you don't want to. But here, often go out at 7 o'clock or even 6. You're home by midnight.
And how's lockdown been for you in St Leonard's, Sue?
Well, the first one I quite enjoyed because I was doing, shall I get onto the subject of my own art classes that I run?
Oh, would you? Just briefly, because we're just coming up to the end of the show.
Because I had a friend, one of my friends from London who ran the gay clubs in London, moved here and opened various pubs. So he said, do you want to do an art class in my pub? And I thought, I've never done it before, might as well. It was a huge success, even though I say it myself. Everyone loved it. But then, in fact, today someone was asking me when it's coming back. Then lockdown came, so of course I didn't do the art class. But as I told you, it's very creative here. Some people set up a telly station called Hastings. I can't remember what it's called now. Isolation Station Hastings, to put programs on. So they asked me to do the art class online. In a way, it was better because I could do people all over the world could come to it.
It's funny how things have worked out, isn't it, Sue?
Now, I often think I was born under a magic star because honestly, lucky things happen to me all the time because I'm basically quite lazy and not ambitious and things just happen to me. So that's quite lucky.
It's been such fun finding out more about you, Sue. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
We're going to carry on now, though, on Patreon. It's just that for now, for YouTube viewers, this is it. This is all you get of me and my guest, Sue Tilley. Renewed thanks, Sue. Thanks for joining us.
Give me, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm glad. Please join me again next week on Little Did You Know, because my guest will be the last of the great joke tellers. Yes, it's none other than Barry Cryer. So,
Thrilling.
yes, join me then. Until then, this is David McGillivray saying, mwah. Bye-bye.